just setting up here. I'm live, but it's not terribly interesting yet. And I need to Hi, Amisha. You are not late. In fact, you're a little bit early. I'm still setting up. So I was really bad at figuring out how to draw this swatch template because I wanted it to look like the palette here. So I actually got my husband to draw me a palette on here with rulers. And then this is my new favorite thing. I'm printing out my color labels with my new label printer. And as you can tell, I wasn't very prepared for this live stream at all. So I'm still doing my labels. So people have a little bit of time to show up and you can watch me do my favorite thing. Actually, I should point out. Oh yeah, I got this from that giveaway. So I have the stone ground paints, and maybe in some future video or stream I'll swatch these. Hi, fairy dust. And then I've also got some Sila paints that I can swatch at some point. This special edition Schminke tin, So it turns out that I'd been told this, but I didn't quite believe it. But live streams are a lot easier than edited videos, like a lot easier. Hi, Lana. So yeah, I might do some of those palette swatches as future live streams. Oh, Amisha says, I'm getting ready to reset my palette, so watching Lee is perfect timing for me. Great. So as I was saying, I was not ready when I started this stream. I do everything last minute apparently. And so I'm still working on my labels, but I'm super obsessed with my new label maker. So yeah, at least for the time being, you all can watch me play with a label maker. And then I did want to point out, I got my new label maker, and then check this out on the edges of the palette. Is that visible to the screen? Wait, sorry. Can you see those? So I labeled them all on the sides too. Label makers are the best. Hi, Lise. Nice to see you. I'm glad you're through your migraine. What's next on this? Okay, PB15. The only downside to this label maker is finding symbols is just like takes so much clicking. They will. So satisfying. So I thought label makers were this crazy fancy thing, but this was $25 Canadian, so like 20 bucks American on Amazon. That's fantastic. Lana says, I went all in and purchased pink and purple labels because why not? Oh my goodness, you are my kind of person. I have to go look for some colorful labels. These are just white. I do have some clear ones as well. So I originally got this because I was making some spice jars for one of my younger siblings who finally moved out of my parents' house. So yeah, so I used the label maker to label the spice jars. But now I'm just labeling everything. Dan says, hello, hi Dan. And Lana, there are teal ones too. Yes, that's super cool. I need some teal labels. Okay. Yeah, you don't have to like, labeling is super fun, but you don't have to watch me print labels for this whole stream. I'm just waiting until, like, I'm gonna give it another, I don't know, 5 minutes before I start swatching the paints to make sure that everyone can get into the stream. Use blank labels and write my own sometimes. Wait, only $20. Yeah, so I was really surprised because I thought that this was going to be like some big expensive purchase. I don't know why I thought that, but you know, it just seemed like this really fancy thing, and it was not expensive at all. Sorry. So Lana offered to go look for a link and post it on Discord. Yes, please. Okay, see you soon, Fairy. Lise sits on Amisha's wallet. Amisha says they used to be expensive. Yeah, I can imagine. Lana says when you buy all the pretty label cassettes, it could be expensive. Yeah, I just got the regular ones in bulk packs and they were not terribly expensive, but I can imagine that if you got really fancy ones that they might be expensive. PB 16. The turquoise. So I haven't been sticking these top labels on because I need to figure out how I'm gonna wrap around this edge. I imagine it's gonna be weird. Jill says my demo only has boring white label tape. Jill, you can get label tape that's different colors. You just sometimes you just have to, you might have to buy it from another brand, but it this is a Dymo label maker and you can get compatible tapes in all kinds of different colors. Yeah, so I'm gonna use this so that it's a little shorter, and I'm actually gonna trim the edges. All right, 2:05 p.m. So do you all think I should start actually swatching things instead of just printing labels? Hi, Steven. Lana says, mine can print fabric labels. Wow, Lana, you have a much fancier label maker than I do. Firecloud says, printing labels is great. All right, my kind of person. But seriously, if you are bored of my label printing, like, I'm happy to chat and finish this up, but I'm also happy to switch to actually swatching at any time. Lana says, I think yours can do it too, probably. I mean, maybe. Mine takes little cassettes like this. So it's possible that you can get cassettes that have like a fabric tape in them, maybe? I haven't looked. If you can find a fabric tape that's compatible with, like this is just the basic Dymo label printer, then possibly. Maybe I'll have to, yeah, so maybe if I do like this, and then we're going to, so the weird thing is I'm gonna have to switch the orientation of my labels at some point. These are like weird things that stress me out. Are my cassettes 12 millimeters? Let me check. Yes. They are 12 millimeter cassettes. Hey, sorry, I'm trying to remember YouTube usernames. Is that Alex? Oh, that's going to be really long, isn't it? Let's try it. Dan says, I always wanted a label maker as a kid. So my parents had one of those little embossing label makers, and I kind of liked it. But I guess maybe that's why I thought that label makers like this one would be really expensive. So I just delayed, like mostly as an adult, I've been wanting a label maker for years. And finally I looked it up like last week and realized that this is super cheap and I can just buy one. So then I did. This is dangerous knowledge now, you know, that I can just Google anything and it turns out that I can just afford to buy all sorts of nonsense stuff. Jill says, I love that we're all kind of geeky in similar ways. I always wanted one when I was a kid too. I have an old Dymo label my name on my old Reeves art box. That's neat. Okay, and then blue. Yeah, we'll just blue tight. Genuine? Pen holder. Dan says no idea what I'd use it for as an adult though. So you could use it to label your swatch sheets. You could use it to label your palettes like I have, like I have here. You could use it to label things in your kitchen. You could use it to label things that don't really need labels. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that this is really like a critically useful part of my life, but I do enjoy it. Alex says everything. Jill says I use mine to label all the things because my memory kind of sucks. Yes, so that's exactly it. I feel like I'm a very visual person, and so unless I see something, I don't have any clue where it is. Like an unlabeled box, I'll never remember what's inside of it. So labels are great for me. And see, like now I'm gonna check what my actual, yeah, that was PR206. Okay. because I've forgotten what pigments I've used. So I can check my label to print another label. This is super useful. What was this called? Okay, so this is called brown matter in English, but I'm gonna use the German word because, sorry, it's better in German. So this is a Schminke paint. It's called Crap Brown. And this is also making my little reptile brain happy. Alex says, if you use a small font, you can even get 2 lines of text on your label. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. So I have the pigment and then I have the label for the name. Amisha says, what does not need labels other than people? I threatened to label my husband. Lisa says you could label things that don't really need labels. Is 100% my energy going into buying one of these? Yes, absolutely. Jill says people should have name labels at all social events, though. I agree. Anisha says, labels mean I can stop remembering what's in some stupid box and remember what I was supposed to be doing. Yes, exactly. Steven says, I wrote a tiny bit of computer code to map my palette on a web page, so if I can't remember what that dark blob in the bottom right is, I fire up the computer. Easy peasy. So, Steven, you might be better at this than I am, but my problem is that if I label something, like if something is stored on the computer, then I'll go to the computer, but once I'm on the computer, I'll get distracted by Discord, I'll get distracted by some email I'm supposed to write, and then I'll get distracted by Facebook. So it's just kind of it's better if I don't have to go to the computer to see what things are. Alex says, I have gold labels because clearance bins exist. Alex, you have gold labels because you're a hero. Okay. Transparent brown. Let's see if I can. Oh, too many lines, so I can't print. More than 2 lines on one label. This is gonna be huge though. Like, I don't know, this label's gonna be stupid large. That's massive. How am I gonna fit that? Oh, okay, I can trim it off. Good. So I will use that. Although I wrote Trant brown. Ugh, okay, need to fix this. Need to add an S to transparent. I'm not distracted by the computer as I listen and watch and I will wait for it. Yes, okay, so I'm a little bit goofy. I'm sorry. All right, and then the last label, I've had a chance to play around with the other one of these palettes a little bit. And although right now I have Monte Amiata Natural Sienna here, and I'm gonna use it, but I think eventually I'm gonna just replace it with regular raw sienna. So I'm just gonna write raw sienna on the label. Is that going to drive people crazy that I have deliberately, like, somewhat mislabeled things? Hey, Pablo. Okay, we are done with the label maker. Hooray! Now we can actually get to, well, first we need to stick the things on. Oh no, we're not done because there's still these. Sorry, guys. But I'll get to those later. How's that? Does that make sense? Amisha says, it's your palette, Lee. You can name it Dave if you want. I know, but still. I guess the thing is, it kind of bothers me a little bit. Oh, I got like a hair second here. Squirrel bears. Damn it, I missed the label maker. Yes, but you see, I forgot that I still need to label the little palette in the middle, so you haven't totally missed the label maker. It's driving me crazy, so I have to get up and make tea and charge my phone, and I don't wanna. I'm sorry, I would dispatch moderator to go make you tea, but he can only make me tea. You're gonna rewind for the label maker stuff. It was spellbinding. Thanks, guys. I appreciate the support here. Oh, I'm gonna need to cut the corner of this label. It's overlapping my other palette thing. And we're gonna have to cut this one too. Okay. We'll handle that later. Never allowed to have one. Even now, my wife makes fun of me for watching one. Aw, Paulo. I mean, in fairness, my husband kind of makes fun of me for how obsessed I am with this label maker. So I'm really glad that, you know, I have my people here who support me. I use washi tape and Sharpies for labels. Yes, I did that quite a bit. But then I got a label maker and it makes me happy. I may have to leave for dinner. How soon? How long does this stream go? It'll be a little while, probably, because I've already wasted over 20 minutes on printing labels. So, you know, I don't know. I'll probably be here for a while. We'll miss you if you have to leave, Annette. Jill says that the next palette I put together is getting named Dave. Cool. I look forward to seeing what you put in Dave. That sounded really bad. I would love an actual label printer, but can't justify it since I have alternatives that don't cost $1 and don't use batteries. Yes, so the batteries is probably going to be like my biggest frustration with this. Is this label maker, I really don't like the like the choice of batteries that they have you put 6 triple A's. And it's like, why couldn't you just put a 9-volt or something in there? That's ridiculous. Matt says, oh, thank you, but I'll be back. Okay, cool. I look forward to seeing you when you get back. My God, my new resident is so cute. I am confused. Do you want to elaborate on this? How? Ev asks, does it have a port for a cord? Let me double check. Trying to remember which one I got. Yes, so it does have a port for a cord. Okay, I guess this one can go like this. Oh, look at how neat this looks. Guys, this is so cool. I wonder if KW Surplus has the old school ones. Cyan says I'm lurking here without the sound. Oh, sorry, Cyan. If someone can say hi to Cyan for me, because I can't type while streaming easily. Oh, okay, we're playing Animal Crossing. I understand, and I have a bunny as the new resident. That's really cool. Sorry, I didn't really catch what you were going on about. And I was like, resident? You have someone in your house? Is this an animal? Are we being weird? Bun. Thank you, Amisha, for sharing that. Hi to Cyan. Okay. And here we have the final, whatever we named this one, Dave. Pricey. Wow, labels makers are pricey. Really, Dan? I don't know where you're looking. I bought mine on Amazon. It was $25 Canadian, which is about 20 US dollars, or maybe about 18. And we're back, I think. One moment. Oh. So this is showing me as back. Okay. But this is not. One moment. It's back. Okay, Ev sees it as back. For some reason, my my secondary screen is taking a little while longer, but okay, now I'm back. I think. Oh, we have visuals. Okay, everyone's good. Yay, refresh. All right. Okay, cool. Hey. Hi, everyone. Sorry that took so long. All right, cool. Yeah, shall we start swatching finally? 40 minutes into this swatching stream. Okay, I have some paints. Yeah? And I can start swatching. So here we go. I have green gold. And will it be easier if I rotate this so that it's clear what I'm swatching? And maybe swap them? Yeah? Okay. Now we're rolling. Yay! Hi, Charles. Nice to see you here. How are you enjoying my silly label maker stream? I spy a Studio 6 discount brush. Yes, this is a Studio 6 discount brush. You are absolutely correct. I got it with my 37 mils of carmine. Sure, let's just paint the table a little too. And get a little bit more of this. So little plug for Sundrops there. Sundrops is my studio mate, Charles, who is doing a daily video. She got a grant from the Arts Council, and you should definitely check out her videos. Her work is really fantastic and very, very different from this sort of stuff. Ev says, I love that orange handle. Charles says, I came in at the label maker and I thought, cool. Yeah, Charles, I was coveting your label maker at the studio for some time there, and then I decided to get my own. Can you please scoot the map up a smidge so we can see better? Okay. I can also try bringing down the camera a little. Paolo, I was recommending Sundrops Studio, who's in this chat. She has a YouTube channel, and she's a studio mate of mine, and she does bead art in a really fantastic and unique way. Stephen says, I also like the green gold as an endpoint in my hue circle when putting paints in a palette. Yes, it's the closest thing that I really have to a lemon yellow for most of my main mixing. Because of course, most of my yellows, as most of you know if you follow me at all, I have a channel where I just go on and on about Nicolazzo yellow all the time. So that's this here. Like, this is the perfect yellow, guys. There's no need for other yellows to exist. You just need Nicolazzo yellow and nothing else. So there we go. Stan says, need to go, but trying to catch you all later when I get home. Okay, cool. See you soon. Or see you later. Or I'll chat with you later. Stephen says PY154. Stephen, you're a heretic. No PY154, not ever. Amisha says, I would love it more if it were a tad less pushy. Aw, but that's the best part. Okay, I'll stop raving about a specific yellow pigment. And then the next thing I am swatching is going to be this P0107. And there's a little star there because it's not actually an officially assigned pigment. So this is Winsor Newton's transparent yellow. It's made with a diketopyrrolopyrrole pigment that is currently unassigned. And then when they first released it, they tentatively labeled it with P0107, which is what it's expected to get as a color index. But to my knowledge, that's not official yet. So when they re-released it in their permanent line, they didn't put a pigment number on it. But it's really gorgeous. And at least for the time being, they're the only brand offering this pigment. It's similar to a transparent pyrrole orange from other brands, but I find that it's a little bit more vibrant and it's got a little bit more of a chromatic shift from mass tone to tints, where it starts out more red and then it in tints it's more yellowy orange. I love this paint. So this is one of the few cases where I'm super brand loyal, because you can't get it from any other brand. Amisha says, yes, but sometimes I don't want my green to get pushy. Yes, absolutely. I'm teasing. I really like my palette. Not everyone needs to use the same palette as I do. And also I tend to be much more flexible about most of the other pigments in my palette. So that's just, you know, my little obsession. Okay, so then this next color is the Da Vinci Carmine. And I don't have my, I've now got 2 tubes of it. I didn't have a tube of it yet last week when I recorded this video. I had ordered one, but it hadn't arrived. And then I played with it some more. So this is a color that I've had in the past. I got in 2018 or 2017. Curry's, which is a Canadian art supply store, had this massive sale on Da Vinci paints where they were discontinuing the line, and so they were offering them really cheap. And a whole bunch of us Canadians bought a bunch of Da Vinci paints. And I got this Carmine, and I never actually put it in a palette, but over the course of about a year, I was doing a daily art project, and in the space of a year, I managed to use up a whole 15 milliliter tube of it without ever putting it in a palette. I just had it out on my table, and I kept on squeezing, I guess, little dollops of it into my mixing plates. So I never had a pan of it, but I was just using it all the time, and I used up 15 mils, or almost 15 mils, in the space of just over a year. Which was really interesting to me. So then I wanted to include it, and I've played with it some more, and I'm beginning to see how I was using it all the time. So now I have another 15 mil now that I just bought, and then I bought a 37 mil along with these brushes from Studio 6. Lana asks, the daily leaf? Yes, that's it. So I was painting a leaf every day through 2018, and now I have an obscene amount of artwork in a suitcase. Think about this project a lot. Oh, interesting. What do you think about? But issue, I'll call the paint plan. I'll call the plan. Aww. I'm sorry if I'm causing you trouble at work, Alex. Okay, so the next paint is a PR122, which is a magenta. This one's from Magello, but again, so I haven't labeled any brands on here because I will probably switch brands pretty frequently, more frequently than I'll switch actual pigments. So I decided to just leave the pigments the pigment and the common name for the paints, but not specify what brands, because of course the brands can change all the time. Says no worries, I've accepted that I'm not getting much work done today. Well, we all have those days. Today my husband drew me this swatch template, the swatch sheet, rather than doing his own work because he wasn't being productive at work. He said he didn't have the brain for his work, so I suggested that he do mine instead. Screaming has more of my attention. I mean, this is like a very fascinating stream. First I painted labels and now, or first I printed labels and now I'm painting out color blocks. Okay, so next we have PV55. And guys, I got this paint years ago and I really liked the color of it, but I never found much of a use for it. Then I decided to include it in this palette, and since tentatively making that decision, I've tested it out with a few things, and I don't know how I didn't find a use for this before, because this is the most useful color I've been, I can think of so many uses for it. It's absolutely amazing. So in some future videos, I want to do a mixing series with the colors in this palette and show you some of the mixes that I can make. And this PV55 is going to feature very heavily. Steven says only one PV19 that is streamlined. That's an interesting comment. Yes, there's a lot of variation of PV19s, but to be honest, a lot of my palettes I didn't have any PV19s. So, yeah. There are 21 colors in all, because including this smaller palette. So this one sits in here. And these are tinting colors that I won't be mixing it as much with the others, I think. But I'll be using they're a little bit less pushy. So a lot of my colors are pushy. Somebody commented on, I would like PY150 more if it was less pushy. The truth is, probably that depends a little bit on what your other colors are. Because the rest of my colors are so assertive, it's not a huge issue that PY150 is super assertive. Jill says, and yet we are watching, so who is crazier? I mean, I don't know. I produce content that I would watch, I hope. So, you know, if somebody else was doing this, I'd be right there with them watching them make labels. Lise says, I finally got up and made tea, turned on back on the computer for the stream. My life is back on track. Woohoo! What kind of tea are you drinking, Lise? Apple cinnamon ginger with a little honey. Ooh. Stephen, I would really like that type of mixing video, focusing on a pigment or two and using them to complement and mix whatever else they are good at. Yes, that's an interesting idea. Originally, I was thinking that I would do a mixing video showing, like, focused on mixing specific color families, like how do you mix blacks, how do you mix greens, but actually focusing on one color and then showing all the things that it can do might also be another approach that would be useful. Jill asks if that tea is basically apple pie in a cup. That actually sounds delicious. I want apple pie in a cup. I don't think that that's something that I can just howl at moderator for, though. I don't know how other people get these really nice swatches. I mean, part of it might be that I paint on hot press paper, but I also feel like I'm just really uncoordinated. My swatches are never nice and even. Okay, so there's a lot of votes for mixing videos where I focus on a specific pigment or a couple of pigments and then show all the things that those pigments can mix, and so that's really cool. Ev says that's probably the hot press. Okay, well, I'll go easy on myself then. I mean, the truth is, in my finished paintings, it really doesn't matter because I just layer a whole bunch of areas, and by the time it's done, it all looks pretty even, and any unevenness is, you know, part of the appeal. But it really does get me when I'm painting swatches like this. Like, why are they so... eh? But, like, I don't even get, like, look at these edges and how, like, I can't paint within the lines. Never learned that lesson in kindergarten. Hot press paper is master level skills. So this is so interesting because when I first started watercolor, I think I tried cold press paper like maybe once or twice in my teens, and it almost made me give up on watercolor just because, like, it's just a tactile thing. Like, I really didn't like the bumpy paper, and so I thought that was the only watercolor paper that was available, and I kind of gave up on watercolor until I started looking into botanical art as an option and found out that hot press paper exists and there's lots of artists who use it. And that was sort of mind-blowing. So pretty much my entire watercolor development has been on hot press paper. And I've tried cold press paper a few times, but because I learned on hot press, I just, you know, it's not like it's the same sort of experience going the other way, where it's just like, oh, well, this is bumpy. And yeah, I mean, I guess I Could put more water on there. Yeah, this is so interesting. So people who are used to painting on cold press find hot press really weird. But like again, I never learned on cold press, so I never had that experience of like, oh, this is why cold press exists. This is why we have those bumps on the paper. I just, I don't like bumps on my paper, so I'm going to learn how to use this. And so that was just part of my experience of how to use watercolor. It does mean that, of course, my swatches, if I'm painting like big juicy swatches like this, they're not going to be particularly even, but yeah. I'm really getting back into phthalo blue. I've always included phthalo turquoise in my palette, and I thought that phthalo blue was a little too close, but it's not. It behaves differently. So in my studio palettes now I have both. I will say that I found Arch's hot press more difficult than Lanacrot. Yes, I will agree with that. The Lana Aquarel is like pretty. It's got like a sort of a furry texture, I guess. I don't like Stonehenge. It's like painting on masking fluid. Interesting. So many people are so much fussier about paper than I am. Paula says, now I can blame the paper for all the crappy art I've made. Sure. Sometimes you just need a blame sponge. We blame our cat for all the mess in the house, and whenever we can't find anything, it's because the cat stole it. You need a blame sponge, so that can be paper. Or the soft press one. I'm really looking forward to trying soft press for some larger pieces. I feel like there are some things that I might appreciate a little bit of texture to, and maybe the soft press will be not bumpy enough that it won't set off my my textural issues. Steven says, Lee prefers frustratingly smooth to annoyingly bumpy. Yep, that's me. Paula says, I like to pretend that I'm a botanical artist. I think I only have hot press paper. There's one or two botanical artists who do paint on cold press, so it's not required, but it is easier if you're going to be drawing on your paper, like with a pen, or pencil. It's also easier if you're going to be using sort of drawing techniques with a brush, like if you're going to be dry brushing or doing wet on dry, clean lines, then those annoying bumps will get you, whether you find them gross or not. So because I've got now a phthalo blue green shade here, I've gone for one of the more greenish PB16s that I can find to keep them more separate. So this one is Marine Blue by Holbein. Some other PB16s are a little bit more bluish. So if you're going to use it as your only cyan, then you might prefer one of the ones that's more bluish. But because I have a PB15-3 phthalo blue in here, I did choose a greener shade. And I think I'm gonna swap these over, like so that I'm not reaching over my wet paint. Hot press is probably way better for scanning too. Yes, so this is another thing where I don't really have a great comparison point. I scan a lot of my work, particularly if I'm doing any commercial work that needs to be scanned. But you know, I only work on hot press, so I can't really compare the two. Lee says this looks so pretty. Thank you. I'm really enjoying it. Okay, so also adding all sorts of paint marks to my table. We'll call it character. Squirrel Bear says PB16 is so nice, isn't it? Oh, it's so beautiful. I love it. Like, I really like Nicolazo Yellow for mixing. I think this is a really practical color, but if I'm just going on like which color I prefer, Phthalo Turquoise is probably my favorite paint, my favorite pigment. Lee says, I really like the one PB16 I have too. It's very greenish. It's the tube my Mary Blue one. Cool. I'll keep an eye out for that. Lana asks, does anyone paint on rough paper? Not I. Flags are rough. Okay. And now we have my Perylene Green. So again, this is a common name, Perylene Green. What happens to be in this well right here is Holbein's Shadow Green, but it's most commonly called Perylene Green, this pigment, PBK 31. And it's in the black index because it's so dark, but it is definitely a green. And I use it for mixing shadow tones. And I also use it for mixing brighter greens when mixed with one of my yellows or other greens. It makes some really beautiful, like, deep, moody teals when mixed with some of the blues and turquoises. It's a really gorgeous color. I really like this. So yeah, so here again, it's like, well, how do I make a smooth gradient here? Definitely not smooth. Sorry. Lee says it's also really runny. Sorry, my Mary Blue one. Soft press, a unique textured surface that only Fabriano makes. The press between cold and hot, providing just enough texture for grip, is considered almost spongy in feel. Huh. Huh, that's fascinating. Thank you for that information, Ev. Paula says, I've discovered that I really hate natural white paper. I went through a phase where I really hated natural white paper, and now I kind of love it. Dan says, guess I prefer things smooth and soft. Yep. Didn't click with red paper. Puns are cringy. It is natural white. Off-white? Yeah, it's like a sort of yellowish, like off-white. It's like a creamy color. Stephen Turner says, I think of that Perylene as a convenience green. I can mix that color, but it is much faster to start with. Yes, so you can definitely mix that color. The truth is you could probably mix a lot of the colors that I begin with. But I don't tend to use it very much on its own. So when I think of a convenience color, I think of a color that I would use on its own. And I don't really use this one on its own so much. I tend to use it along with other things. So it's kind of an ingredient. It's a step on my way to mixing other things. And so I think of it as a starting color for that reason. Lana says, but it's so pretty, like a sunny paper. One of my favorite paintings is on rough paper. Paolo says, I prefer an icy white paper, like iceberg color. Okay. Strong opinions on paper color here. And now we are going to swatch the blue apatite. Ooh. Lee says, I don't think I have a clear preference between the whites. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I will happily use both. So, you know, I feel like at one point I really strongly preferred what am I doing here? I'm just making a mess. At one point I really strongly preferred pure, like the bright whites. I don't know, someone had said that, you know, that's the cleanest thing for botanical art. But I actually like a little bit, you know, it just adds a little something if you're gonna leave areas of white on your paper to have it be not quite white. So I've come to really like the natural white, but I'll use either one. So this is Blue Apatite Genuine, and I've added this because I really enjoyed Mayan blue at one point, but it doesn't have really great light fastness. And I really enjoy Green Apatite Genuine as a sketching color, not so much for mixing. So I thought maybe I would enjoy Blue Apatite Genuine. I don't really like how it spreads on the paper, so maybe I need to find another one of these moody, earthy blues. But I'm trying to work with Blue Apatite Genuine right now. Lana asks, what brand has icy white colored paper? Yes, Paolo, I would also like to know that. Steven says, if I painted landscapes on location, I would probably include Perylene and even a pretty small palette. Yes, so let me think about this. If I was making a very limited palette, I mean, I would start with a CMY triad. So the first three colors that I would include would probably be something like nickel azo yellow, quinacridone magenta, and then either phthalo blue or phthalo turquoise, depending on the purpose of this palette. And then probably the next color, like the fourth color I would include, is Perylene Green. This is maybe Roman's upcoming Vivianite. I'm really excited to try that paint. So he is sending it to me, and I'm really looking forward to that. But that will come in a pan. So hopefully one day Roman Schmal will make two colors. For now he only makes pans, which makes it a little bit challenging to fit into this palette. So actually, arches do bright white as well. It's a little bit harder to find, maybe. I was curious to know which brands other people use, but I think Fabriano makes both finishes. Arches makes both finishes. Again, I'm not too terribly fussy. I buy whatever's available and just I'll paint on anything. Didn't feel it was icy white though. Yes, so I guess that was also my question, was I wanted to know which papers feel icy enough for you. What I don't like in Arch's cold press is how my brush feels on the paper. It feels so rough, like sandpaper. Yes, so I feel like that about a lot of cold press papers. Maybe not all, but many, which is why I very, very quickly, as soon as I found out that hot press was even an option, I started using hot press. Yeah, so the Blue Apatite Genuine, I really like how it looks. Like, it creates these really cool granulation patterns, but just applying it, it feels kind of gummy. Come on, re-wet. There we go. So Potter's Pink, I've got this Potter's Pink from Schminke, and it re-wets more readily and gets deeper than a lot of Potter's Pinks, but it's still a little bit tricky. So, you know, that's a little bit, it's a downside to Potter's Pink, but I do still really love it. It had just been mentioned a little while ago, but Roman Schmal Aquarius is releasing a whole bunch of new colors, and one of the new colors that they're releasing is going to be a Potter's Pink, and they're very interesting because Roman Schmal as a brand, all of their colors are super re-wettable, including some that are usually more difficult to re-wet because they have a lot of honey in their formula. But they're releasing a Potter's Pink, and the interesting thing is it's that pinker shade of Potter's Pink. So the Schminke shade is a little bit darker, and most of the brands that I know about that have a re-wettable Potter's Pink that isn't a tragedy to re-wet have this darker shade. But the interesting thing is that Roman Schmal's new Potter's Pink looks like the pinker shade. It looks like more like the Winsor Newton Potter's Pink, but probably it's going to be more re-wettable. So I'm really excited about that. Lana says she doesn't get the rough sandpaper-like feeling out of Fabriano cold press. Okay, cool. To be honest, again, I kind of went straight to hot press and then haven't really looked back too terribly much. It's possible that I could find a cold press that would bother me less. Stephen Turner says, much easier to start with bright white and dull it down a bit with palette mud if desired, rather than the other way around. Yes, if you're going to cover the whole paper. But if you're going to leave areas of white paper, then what that white is does matter. Paula says, I prefer using something bright white because the colors seem more bright. That too. Lots of questions. Okay, so Lana says, Otto made a perfectly rewettable Potter's Pink. Yes, I have a half pan of that. It's wonderful. Lise and Dan and yeah, so there's some questions about Potter's Pink and how I use it. So Potter's Pink I stayed away from for a long time. Oh, sorry, one moment. Charles, this is awesomely, your followers are so great. I better sign off now and get to editing video. Oh, sorry. I know, editing sucks. I'll chat with you later, Charles. I'm planning on going into the studio next week because I have some studio videos to do. And some studio work. So I'll see you soon. Maybe we can get together this weekend. And good luck with your video editing. And yes, all of y'all are so wonderful. Sorry, back to Potter's Pink. How do I use Potter's Pink? In fact, I'm gonna get just a little bit more of that in here. I shied away from Potter's Pink for a long while because I was kind of put off by it, honestly. I thought it's difficult to re-wet. I didn't really like granulation for a long time too. What have I done? I'm messing with a wet wash. Don't do this, Lee. How do I use Potter's Pink? I mix it with some of my brighter colors and to mute them down and add some textures. So maybe I can actually find you an example. Yeah, I'll be right back. I'll find you an example. So, like here, we have some gum leaves in my sketchbook. So all of these have quite a bit of Potter's Pink mixed in. And so I'll just, you know, for all of you who were concerned about some of these really assertive colors over here, part of what I do is I'll mix them all on a flat surface like this, and I'll mix in some of my more muted colors or some of my darker colors, maybe something heavily granulating like Potter's Pink or this Apatite, and that'll sort of ground it, and then I'll be able to have a more you know, a dustier, sort of less assertive color. Stephen Turner says Potter's Pink, or I could try and mull one of the stones from my backyard. Well, I mean, there's merit to mulling stones from your backyard too. Mary Sanch out in the Alberta Badlands has been collecting Alberta Badlands stones and mulling them and making some really interesting, cool paint. So maybe you can mull some paint from your backyard stones, Stephen. That would be cool too. PR206. This is like one of my new favorite all-purpose paints. It's a quinacridone, so it's nice and clear and saturated, but I find it's a little bit softer and more easily to lift than some of the other quinacridones. It's like a nice gentle color, despite its crap brown name. So PR206 comes in a few different shades. So some brands like Winsor Newton makes an alizarin crimson hue out of the same pigment, but it's just a redder shade. Misha says, thanks for the helpful examples. He says, Owen Kyode Gear on Insta. I feel like I missed some context here. Dan says, I love their permanent alizarin, so pretty. Yes, it is rather pretty color. I feel like that permanent alizarin, that PR206 from Winsor Newton, would be a decent replacement for this carmine. Like you could use it in a lot of the same ways. Oh, Kyoto Gear mulls her own pigments from stones and goes on pigment hunt. That's really cool. I'll look her up later. Or you know what, Lana, can you throw that up in my Discord? Dan says, I use it as my cool red. Okay, cool. Nice. As your cool red. So then, oh, because you use like a split primary, so you have like a PR254 or something as your warm red. Put it in the Sub Love channel. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thanks. So this transparent brown iron oxide is pretty new to me too. Previously I'd been using quinacridone rust for sort of this area. And then I decided to split it up and add something a little bit more granulating and a little bit more separating. And this also makes some really cool mixes mixed with everything else. Just adds some like moody color to everything. It's really lovely. Colors in nice brown again. So this is Daniel Smith's transparent brown iron oxide. Are you talking about this? Which one are you talking about, Anna? This one is PR206 Brown Matter, or Crap Brown, depending on whether you're German or not. And PR101 is Transparent Brown Iron Oxide. This one's from Daniel Smith, but I think it's available from a few different brands. Oh, are we losing Jill? Bye, Jill. Dan says, I have cadmium red for warm and then a cool red. I'm not fussy on pigments at the moment. I think it's perylene red in there. Ah, okay, cool. Dan, do you also keep a magenta, or are you strictly split primary? Shminka has a transparent brown too from PR101. Yes. Yeah, that's it's a fairly common pigment. And then here we have raw sienna. Right now what I have in the palette is Monte Amiata Natural Sienna, which is a more yellow tone of raw sienna. I thought I would try this more yellow tone to keep it more separate from the brown iron oxide, but I think that I will probably actually in the long term prefer just a regular raw sienna tone, so this might turn into just a regular raw sienna down the line. I do use magenta, but I don't have 12, but I only have 12 wells on my palette, so magenta doesn't get its own well. I think it's so interesting how different people arrange their palettes. Okay, and then the last thing is this little middle palette thing here. So I'm gonna move the big palette out of the way. And I'm gonna move this over here. And then I will 1, 2, 3, 4. And I do still need to put a couple more labels on here. So we're back to label making, guys. No, the last thing is the giveaway color swatches. Well, so I'll tell you what, Lise, I ordered a few too many palettes. You may have seen that discussion. I ordered a pile of palettes from China. Like pan palettes like these. They're this guy's older brother. Bigger brother, only they're nice and colorful. And I was thinking I might do a palette giveaway where I fill some of those with some half pans and give them away. But I don't have those yet, so I can't give them away. PR209 Quinn. Red? Yeah, we're gonna call this Quinn Red. What about a video or two looking for mixing complements? We know the theory is only a starting point in this area. Mixes tend to go more green if you give them half a chance. PG 7 PG54 are good. Yes, that's a thing I could do. Oh, I was thinking about the colors you won, but yeah, I mean, we'll see once I finish these how much time we've been on. It's been about an hour and a half now, so I don't know how long everyone wants to stick around watching me paint. Can someone remind me that Schminke cobalt violet hue, what its pigment number was? Is it PV62? That appetite. Violet. Appetite? Oh, no. PV62. Yeah, okay, thanks guys. Because I have it in here, but I've kind of forgotten what the... Never win either, except I just won Lana's giveaway, so I'm never winning anything again. Okay. I had it so often in the super granulating colors, it's imprinted in my brain now. Cool. Okay, so then this will go here. This. And here we'll have bismuth yellow. All right, so now we have these four, and so I'll swatch these four colors in here. The wheel picks whom the wheel picks. Yeah, actually, so my last giveaway, I still have the painting because the person who won, I could not reach them. So I'm going to have to spin that again and give that away for real. I have BD16 in a palette, or I thought I did. I'm becoming more and more convinced that it is a semi-precious rock. Aww. Okay. Okay. So, next, let us paint this out. So, someone had asked me over the week what variety of PR209 I have. This is the Daler-Rowney kind. I'm actually pretty convinced this is not my favorite, but I'm not brand loyal. I just use whatever I have, so that's what I have right now. I suspect that probably Daniel Smith's quinacridone coral is actually a stronger version of this paint. Yeah, I think it was a new, like a new YouTube viewer who doesn't check their account. So I just had the YouTube handle. And I sent them a message and I didn't get back, sent another message, finally just set it aside. So I'll redraw and hopefully then I'll be able to give away my giveaway, because I don't want to scam people. When I say I'm going to send things, I intend to send things. So they do a lovely PR209. Yes, they do. I do actually really like the look of the Sennelier PR209. I like a lot of Sennelier paints, how they look. I don't like how they feel on my brush. Paolo, it's not you, I'm sorry. Okay, and then this is the Violet Appetite. Oh, and I've got clearly got some of that PR209 here, so let's make sure that I'm not muddying this up too much. And then I'm actually going to let this re-wet because this one's a little bit tricky to re-wet. I'm so sorry, it wasn't me. Oh, maybe next time. Maybe with the palette. He's very Canadianly sorry. Like, that's actually real though, that Canadian thing. I mean, I apologize to inanimate objects when I trip over. Like, it's bad. So this is a true lemon yellow. Was I entered? I'm not sure, Dan. It was a, what's the name of the Australian bird? My goodness. Some kind of Australian megapode. And it was just anyone who commented on the video. It's also your dialect coming through for a sec. It was very cute. Yeah, I do sound Canadian sometimes. Oh, hey there. I also say it's a British thing, but I don't think our words look too good at the moment. Well, I think it might be related. Definitely, I went to Australia and there was some similar patterns in terms of, you know, social behavior, and talking to some, we stayed with some family friends who, he's a he's Canadian and he moved to Australia. His wife is Australian, and so she also worked in Canada for a while, and they were talking about how like there are a lot of similarities that come from a similar colonial and whatever large country far away from the homeland sort of colonial history. And so there are a lot of similarities between, for example, Australia and Canada. I imagine that there are also similarities in some of the cultural things with Britain. Stephen says, I sound 90% Canadian, 10% English. That sounds accurate. Okay, this is gonna bother me. I went in towards the corner on these two, but this one is just straight down for some reason. I'm gonna have to fix that. So there's that one, and I'm gonna have to fix this so that it is facing towards the corner. Which English accent? We have many colorful ones. All right, that will have to do. Okay, well, so this is the studio palette. It's now been an hour and 46 minutes. That coral color is so pretty, isn't it? I really like it. Haven't used it much, but hopefully, now that I have it in a studio palette, I'll use it more. And so the main portion of like what I intended to do in this video is done. Are you all tired of me yet? Because if not, somebody mentioned I have these freebie paints that I can swatch. Lana says, by the way, there are glitter tapes for your label maker. Lana, by the way, you are a dangerous influence. I'm tired. Okay, well, I mean, I can swatch these. Watch until you're tired of me. Well, that will happen eventually. I mean, eventually my camera, I've got my phone up there, it will cut out sometime. Okay, people want swatches. Okay. I'm gonna have to get out a sketchbook or something. Give me a moment here. so glad that I'm extending this stream. Absolutely, yes. Now I do need to swatch because Joy is here. So, Joy, let me fill you in on what you missed. Sorry for waking you up for this. So I started out with this main palette. I'll show you the actual palette. So here we have a palette. That's one of my 2 studio palettes. And one of the little guys. And I had my husband make me a swatch template for it. Then I spent half an hour showing people how to use the label maker. It was very fascinating content, and yet several people stuck around for my very interesting label making. And then I swatched out all of my colors on my main palette, so this is what I'm going to be using as a studio palette now. And you came in just in time. We're done with the main palette, but I have some exciting stuff where I got some paints. So now we're going to, you know what? I'm going to do 2 things. I have Stone Ground Paint Company sent me some paints, and I also have, check out these beauties. Yeah, from Elijah. So I have some lovely paints from 2 Canadian paint makers. And so now for some all Canadian content, I'm going to get out a sketchbook. And I'll swatch these up. Losing paints all over. Ta-da! Buddha. Hey, maple syrup. I'm sorry instead of sorry. Instead of sorry. Kennedy's from I feel like this is a regional thing where the Canadian about doesn't sound like a boot to anyone except some Americans, where they'll drag out their, when they say about, they'll say like about. And we clip it. So it turns into a boot. About. Right? It's a little shorter, kind of like a boot. No one says a boot. Okay, so which should I do first? Stone Ground or Sila? And actually, I'm gonna need to replace my water. So you guys tell me whether I'm doing Stone Ground or Sila, and I'm gonna go replace my water, and then I'll do whichever one you want when I get back. I'm also gonna grab myself a pen. Or Christy watched me do some label maker for half an hour. All right, I'm back. What did we say? We can hear the dialect and about Sila, alphabetical. Okay. Do you have favorite pens to write on watercolor paper? Well, so this is interesting. The pen I was looking for, I couldn't find. So I'm going to use a Uniball Micro. It works all right. What I've really been enjoying lately is the, what's it, TWSBI Eco. And I have some of the platinum pigment ink I have in just sepia and also in the platinum carbon, the platinum carbon black. But of course, when I want to find a fountain pen quickly because I'm on stream, I can't find my fountain pen. So we're just using just a Uniball Micro. I have a bunch of these. It's really lovely. I really wish I could have found my pen because, yeah, next stream I promise I'll have it. I really like it. It's subtle. Okay, all right. I got a couple votes for alphabetical order. So I guess I can also put these in alphabetical order. That seems like a silly way to sort these. If I sort these this way. So the neat thing about Sila paints is that these are sticker labels. They're so cool. Oh my goodness. Elijah's a genius. And so actually I'm gonna cut this off here. was smarter. And this is the part that I want. Okay, so by Indian yellow. Yeah, so I considered that for a half second, Stephen, and then I decided that I'm going to do neither. Because it seems really awkward. It would put things in a weird order. Indian yellow, yeah, PY 153. I'm really excited for that. And then I guess before I'll finish unwrapping these, for those of you who haven't seen Sila paints yet, oh man, Elijah's a genius. Like, check this out. They're magnetized at the bottom. They have labels with the name and the pigment right on the pan. Ha, ha. Yeah. And these are full pan sizes because I prefer to work out of full pans if I am going to use pans. And Elijah custom made them for me. So beautiful. So then cobalt turquoise. Yeah. Next we'll use cobalt turquoise, PB36. And made in Canada. Let's get this. Oh, hopefully this will stick like this. I can make such labels now too. I guess I could. How can you make paint so shiny? I don't know. And these perfect little bubble tops. Ha! Oh my goodness. Elijah's branding is so on point. Maple syrup. I got into big trouble. People were not impressed when I suggested using maple syrup instead of honey in some paint making. I suggested that, I think, in one of Ev's streams, and I had some people jump down my throat about how that was a terrible idea. So I stopped suggesting it, but I do think that some, now that we're in my own stream, personally, I think that would be kind of funny and kind of fun. I think that transparent pans a lot. Yeah, so the transparent pans are from Amazon. I bought a whole bunch of them myself. Maybe I should try it. That would be cool, Dan. I would like that. I feel like it would be useful for something like, if you choose like a nice earthy tone, like you could do like a transparent iron oxide with maple syrup. Yeah, and then if people lick their paints, it's like not the end of the world because it's just an earth color. Okay, and then we need to cut this end off. British paintmaker is the one who offers. Well, yeah, all the paints are shiny. The Potter's Pink is slightly less shiny, but like, look at even this Potter's Pink looks so smooth. Oh, it's so beautiful. And then we can cut this one off. And then the raw sienna. Even the raw sienna is nice and pretty and shiny. Oh, so beautiful. All right. Let's get some lines here. All right, we'll draw some maple leaves. How's that for transparency? My goodness, you'd think that I hadn't spent a year painting a leaf every day. This poor leaf here, sort of deformed. Hoping for some comparison between that turquoise and similar turquoise colors. Give me a moment. Let me check through my pile of messy paints here, whether I have some similar colors. I do have a cobalt aqua in a half pan, also from Elijah. One moment, let me just get a what have we here? Okay. I'm gonna use this little tin thing. to hold these for now. So here we have some paints, and then I can compare the I can compare the Cobalt Turquoise. I can compare it to the PG19 Cobalt Aqua, also from Sila Paint Company. I can compare it to some Kramer paint, maybe? What do I have right here? I also have the Ultramarine Green from Kramer. So that's sort of an interesting thing to compare it to. And then I can compare it to the, wait, that was dumb. I can compare it to the Cobalt Turquoise PG50. Okay. So, why are these in that order? That's a silly order. And let us, okay. I love how this looks when it's wet. I'm going to grab another plate to mix on. One moment. Steven asked about the ultramarine green. Yes, so that's a Kramer color. They got a stash. So ultramarine, it turns out, is actually a large class of pigments. Most of them aren't in production. Ultramarine green was, in fact, there's several ultramarine green pigments, and Kramer, the pigment company, got a hold of a bunch of them, and they made some paint out of it, which I bought a while back. It's kind of neat. Oh, look at this. It's like oh, it's so juicy. Well, this is beautiful. So this is PY153 nickel dioxine yellow. So this is a discontinued yellow pigment. But look, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Wait, why is my screen so... Oh, sorry. Did I splash some water up on my lens or something? One moment. I don't understand why I'm so blurry. Nope. Nickel dioxine, I believe. Paulo? You splashed me. So I want one of those long plates to mix on. Yes, I got the long plate at a thrift store, and I do still really like mixing on plates. So although I now have that studio palette, which I expect I'll be doing a lot of my mixing on, they're still really handy to have, and I'll still keep a few of them in the studio. Not blurry to me. No, so it turns out that that was actually something on whatever. It's figured out. Not blurry. Hi, Annette. We've moved on from my studio palettes, and we're now just swatching some other paints, where we've now moved on to swatching some Canadian paints that I recently got. So what I'm swatching right now is Sila Paint Company, or as some of us know this paint maker, this is Elijah Luce, makes these paints. He's based in Toronto and makes these gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous colors. Oh, okay, so this is the cobalt turquoise. Lee's desk is so pretty. That's because you're only seeing the middle of it that I've cleared off for this video. The rest of it, it's a total disaster mess. The first Google hit I find on nickel dioxide is Lee's website. Cool. You know, you gotta be first in something. Can't be first in everything, we gotta be first in something. Okay, so that's that beautiful cobalt turquoise. Next we've got quinacridone magenta, which is PR122. So this is one that we can get a direct comparison for because I have it on my main palette as well. So this one's Elijah's quinacridone magenta. That's very lovely. I like it a lot. And then we have this one is by Magello Mission Gold. You can't find, Paulo, you can't find the formula, like the chemical composition of nickel dioxide, you mean? Eleanor says, I love the SPC paints. SPC as in Stone Ground Paint Company. They're Indian yellow. Do you know what pigment their Indian yellow is made from? Can somebody look that up for me? Look up Stone Ground Paint Company and what pigment is in there. Annette says, I might have a bug in my room. The cats go wild looking for something. I'm really surprised that I don't have a cat here right now. Usually neurons all over my stuff. Oh, right, of course. They both, haha, they both start with an S. Yes, Sila Paint Company. The Indian yellow, this PY153. Oh my goodness, isn't it lovely? Ev says PY153 nickel dioxide yellow. Yes, Ev, I suspect that Paulo is actually looking for the actual chemical composition of like what is a nickel dioxide, what does that molecule look like? Would be my guess, but I don't know. Lana says, Dante joined me in watching the stream. Hi, Dante. Do you like colors, Dante? Christine Kaiser says, good evening from Turkey. Can you give the pigment info, please? For which? It's actually printed on these little labels. So this Indian yellow here is PY153 nickel dioxine. The cobalt turquoise over here is PB36. Maybe one of the chemists can go into a little bit more detail about what a PB36 is, but it's cobalt turquoise. Quinacridone magenta is PR122, and it's a quinacridone structure. Potter's pink is PR233, and I don't know, maybe someone can give me some more information on composition of Potter's pink, PR233. PBR7 is raw sienna, and that's just a natural earth pigment. Amisha says Winsor Newton uses the PY153 in their new gamboge. Amisha, they used to, but that formula was discontinued in 2013. Lana says, I asked him whether he likes the colors, but he only looks confused. Aw, poor doggo. Poor buddy. But he's really cute and I like him. So this is a beautiful Potter's pink. And as you can see, this is super rewettable. Like it's even more rewettable than that Schminke that I have on my main palette over here. So if you are to compare the two Potter's pinks, this is the Schminke one, which I'm using on my main palette because it comes in tubes. And this is Elijah's or Sila Paint Company's Potter's pink. It is much easier to re-wet. They're very similar toned, but yeah, it's too bad that these ones don't come in tubes. Yeah, so Joy asks, are you going to be reaching for that Indian yellow to supplement your new palette? Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do with those tins that I ordered is I will keep some paints that aren't in my main palette. I'll just keep 2 copies of them, one at each studio. So they won't necessarily be the same brand. I do have PY153 from other brands, so one of the studios will get the Sila one and the other one will get another brand. The color of our... Oh, thanks, Amisha. Christine says, thanks, I can't read the small print on my tablet. Ah, yes, sorry. Dante does confuse very cutely. I like Sila's Potter's pink. It dissolves more easily than Daniel Smith. Yes, it really, really does. Dan says, I do wish I had the lifestyle for a dog. I'm like almost there, and I think I might get a dog sometime soon, but you know, it's tough because you want to make sure that you will long-term have the time to pay attention to a dog the way they need. He says Dante is the dapperest doggo. Christine asks, PB36 is usually cobalt chromium, no? That sounds believable, but I can't confirm. We do, however, have some other pigment nerds and even some chemists in the chat here, so they might be able to answer you better. And then now we have my raw sienna. And oh my goodness, this is such a beautiful shade. I really love raw sienna. It's like so simple, so nice. Oh, so beautiful. So on my main palette, I decided to get all creative and tried what I've got in my raw sienna spot here is actually Monte Amiata Natural Sienna from Daniel Smith. But I really think that I like this this Sila version better. So I'll probably be going for something like this, you know, once I run through the Monte Amiata. Okay, and then I got some requests for the cobalt specifically to compare it to some other colors. So here, let's do a comparison. So here we have Sila Cobalt Turquoise. Then we can have Sila. Actually, I'll start wetting that now. So I have also the Cobalt Aqua from Sila. So this one is PB36. This one is, and again, this is wonderful because it's all labeled. So this is PG19. And then this one's not labeled, but it is ultramarine green. So Kramer ultramarine green. And then, and I've forgotten what this pigment is. I can fill it in later. And then PG50. So, yeah. Right. This one, that one is Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton Cobalt Turquoise Light. And then I'll just swatch these out for you one at a time. He's pretty good at staying at home. That's the previous job I was able. That's so cool, Lana, that you were able to take Dante with you to work. Eleanor asked, do you use Potter's Pink much? I'm learning botanical illustration now, but I haven't put it in my palette yet. It's a very limited palette. I have started to use Potter's Pink quite a bit. I will say that I use it more in sketching than I do in finished botanical art pieces so far. It's useful for adding some granulation and texture and softness to subjects that aren't, you know, very lively. Like, so if you're going to be painting a dried up seed pod or a dry leaf or something, I think it's useful for that. Lana says we had a long walk in the morning. He doesn't destroy stuff. Pure bark. Lana, Dante sounds like a wonderful dog. Wish mine were more like that. What are your dogs like, Paolo? So here is the Cobalt Turquoise. Hopefully that can give you. And once again, I'm painting on hot press paper, so these swatches are bound to be a little bit messy. So Dan says my partner eventually wants a dog, so I expect it will happen at some point. I really want a dog. I'm trying to convince my husband, and that's going sort of okay. wants more cats. Alex says my partner and I fight. He says when we get dog, it must be small enough that we can carry it if something happens. I say dog must be big enough to carry me if something happens. I'm on your side. Alex, I feel like dogs should be large things. Large animals. Ultimately, I'm going to win this argument. I'm working on my effort. I guess technically, yeah, you just have to prove that you can carry your 200-pound Newfoundland Retriever, and then it can be, then you can both be right. I like Lisa's solution of 2 dogs. But why not both? We can get more cats, we can get, a couple of dogs. Just start a menagerie. And then, so hopefully this is giving you all a better idea of what this cobalt turquoise is like from Sila, which was the point of this little exercise that I'm doing over here. Is I have a whole bunch of teals and turquoises here. The ultramarine is interesting. Yes, it's pretty cool. I always struggle with these limited, like, discontinued paints where I don't want to get too into them, too attached to them, and use them in all my work, because then when they run out, they run out. Wow, that ultramarine green. Yeah, isn't it cool? It's got like some interesting separation. It's pretty cool. I like it. Okay, so that's Sila. Really lovely colors. And now some more paints. So we'll get this out of the way. And get this, move this away for a moment. And now we're gonna look at the Stone Ground Paint Company. So, Stone Ground Paint Co. Does hot press take a while to dry? I don't know that it takes longer than cold press. It takes a while to dry fully, and when it's still damp, you can definitely disrupt the surface. But I don't know if that's actually, that it takes any longer than cold press. Again, I don't really have much experience with cold press, so I don't know what I'm comparing to. Another thing to be aware of is that it is actually fairly cold in this studio. We've had a cold few weeks, and we're not running our heaters, so it's pretty cold and pretty humid in here, so it is going to take a little bit longer. Okay, so then we have this Stone Ground Paint Company palette, and I will show you their little swatch that came with it. And this has 6 colors. I didn't choose these colors in any way. This was sent to me, but I've got Lemon Ochre, Raw Sienna Warm Shade, Pozzuoli Red Earth, Florentine Green, Nicosia Green Earth, and Raw Umber Dark Neutral. Because these are earth colors, I'm going to assume that they want to be pre-wet. And then I just want to show you some stuff about these paints. So they also have the names of the paints printed on the pans, but they're stuck in, like these aren't magnets, they're glued in. So I can't easily move these around, but I do have these little paints. They're nicely labeled on the lid as well. And it came with this little protector thing. So this is some pretty cute packaging. Lana says, did I hear quarantine green? No, Florentine green, like Florence. But I like the name of quarantine green. In a related names of green thing, I was talking to Roman Schmal yesterday. And they have a new Perylene green out. So they already had one, but they are introducing a new Perylene green to their line. Apparently I'm drawing a Norway maple. This is not a Canadian maple. Sorry. So they have a new Perylene green out, Roman Schmal does, and in Polish, apparently the word to describe like a deep muted green is rotten green. I thought it was an auto-translate issue, but no. So that's almost as good as German crap brown. I'm gonna start just labeling all the paints in my palette with like the most interesting translations I can find for them. You know, so I'll have rotten green and crap brown. All our paints are quarantine magenta, quarantine yellow. This is just what I needed my Friday night to look like. Thanks, Lee, and I'll be ready for Ev's stream tomorrow. It's going to be a nice, calm weekend. Yeah, I love hanging out with you guys. You know what? I can probably make this a regular thing. Like if you want to just have a Friday stream, I can just figure out a time on Friday afternoons that works for most of us and just do a weekly stream, if that's something that you're all interested in. Joy says daylight savings is arriving soon. Yes, so Joy, you're like 12 hours off from me, right? Or no, that can't be right. What time is it where you are, Joy? So the trouble is if I make it too late in the afternoon, then it's late night for the people in Europe. If I make it too early, then it's a bit awkward for people in North America who have work, but it's super awkward then for Joy where it's the middle of the night. This time slot was good. Yeah, I think this time slot probably works. So that's starting at 2 p.m. in Eastern Standard Time, which is where I am now. But I mean, because of quarantine and because a lot of people I know make their own schedules anyway, it's not too much of an issue to be streaming in the middle of the day. I guess Joy's in. This is the daylight savings time. It's a 2-hour difference when daylight savings kicks in. Because her step forward is our step back or whatever. Southern Hemisphere. Alex says, I feel like this made my work shift end on a bit of a higher note, just saying. I'll be in and out, but I'm down to climb around this time. Cool. Nice. Sounds good. Yeah, but Lana, we're in the northern hemisphere and she's in the southern, so it would be the opposite. Oh, did you mention who made my big studio palette? So this studio palette I got from Meeden on Amazon, Eleanor. It's also available from a number of different art supply stores under different brand names, but then it's much more expensive. So on Amazon, I think it was $30 Canadian. So it would be less if you're in the US or elsewhere. Yeah, it's a lovely big palette. I meant to do this before the stream, but I will add it to the replay, and then I'll add a permalink on my website to my materials where I list the specific products that I'm using. So of course, this is all something that's gonna be asked a lot, so I guess we'll just do it once and for all. Joy. Oh, Joy, you're so poetic. Quarantine green is perhaps the color of leaves as seen through a window, or the wonder of getting to the park for the exercise hour for those able to exercise. So I'm thinking a nice color. That's really sweet, and I love the poetry of that. Okay, So lemon ochre is the first color that I have from Lisa, like that too. I think quarantine would be something like Green Appetite Genuine, a lovely weirdo that doesn't mix all that well. Yeah, is Katie here? I don't think Katie's here in this stream right now. But Katie Hanna makes a color, I think it's called Evenfall Moss, and it's beautiful. It's got PG8 and a granulating color in it, and it's like this beautiful mossy color. I feel like that would be similar to what Lisa's describing with the Green Appetite Genuine, a lovely weirdo that doesn't mix all that well. So this is lemon ochre, and so you can see this is like it's not really a lemon yellow, but it's definitely a cooler shade of earth yellow than some of the other earth yellows you might see, like a raw sienna or this one on my main palette. Bev says, I need a nap. Thanks for the stream, Lee. Have a great Friday, everyone. All right. Thanks for joining. I will be finishing up these swatches, and then I need a snack myself. Dan has found the Meaden palettes. Yeah, so the small one, I had originally bought a small one, and then I sold it to a studio mate because it's really tiny. So the little teeny tiny one is about this big, the 18 well one, and it doesn't have the divider in the middle. It's just got one little plate, and then it's got the individual little wells are about the size of a half pan. Sleep well. We'll see you tomorrow, Ev. Looking forward to your stream. So then this is the Raw Sienna warm shade. I really like. Oh my goodness. Raw Sienna was one of my favorite colors when I first started painting in watercolor as a teenager, and then recently I hadn't been using it as much. I feel like I'm just rediscovering raw sienna and how much I love it. Oh, so pretty. So these are really nice paints. It's kind of neat. There's a pigment called salmon from Comma Pigments, which is a Canadian pigment distributor. So Ev, among other people, makes a paint with that salmon color. And this looks similar to that, but I think that this one is much more transparent. Eleanor says, I have the small one. I like it a lot. The wells are a bit bigger than a half pan, but I will want something larger at some point. Yeah. Yeah, I have found that as I paint more, I get increasingly frustrated with small little wells. So I find half pans a little frustrating. I'm getting to the point where even full pans are sort of borderline. That's a very strange favorite color in the most wonderful way. Oh, because I usually like really, really bold paints. And then suddenly I like raw sienna. Yeah, I guess that is an interesting combination, isn't it? Eleanor says, I don't have any raw sienna, but I think I need some. Raw sienna is lovely. Also, it's really cheap, so you know, as paints go, it's a good thing to add to your collection. Lisa says, one of my first loves was burnt sienna, and another was Prussian blue. Prussian blue was also one of my first loves in paint. And yeah, I don't use Prussian blue anymore because I've been meaning to test a bunch of different Prussian blue brands and find one that I'm satisfied with the light fastness. But I haven't gotten around to it. So once I do that, I may end up reintroducing Prussian blue, but it used to be one of my very favorites, and I don't use it anymore. Actually, on that topic, I was considering doing a video where I paint something using actually two videos. One where I paint something using my first favorite watercolors, like the colors that I chose first. And then another one using watercolors that I used to love but have removed from my palette. Whose raw sienna do you like best? Well, that's interesting. These two are definitely in the running. I think the stone ground paint one might actually become my favorite, but I do prefer things that come in tubes. So I don't know. I have a 37 milliliter tube of Da Vinci raw sienna, which is fine. I don't know that it's my favorite. It's because I have 37 mils of it. It's what I've been using. The Monte Amiata Natural Sienna from Daniel Smith is a somewhat different shade. It's much more yellow. And I like it too. Paulo says, Theo made some light fastness tests. And you made some Prussian blue. Yeah, that's really cool. I've heard about making Prussian blue. That's really neat. And I think that he found one or two that was really light fast. Yeah, so my understanding with Prussian blue is that it also varies batch to batch. So you can find one brand that, you know, one person will test and it's very light fast. And then you go and you buy the same brand of Prussian blue, you know, a year or two later, and suddenly it's not light fast. So I do want to do my own tests before I include it in my studio palette. So I just have to get around to that. I have so many Prussian blues right now. Because I bought some and then some people heard that I was collecting Prussian blues for this and sent me some. So I have so much Prussian blue. I just want to find some Prussian blue that I can use. Was this Schminke Prussian blue? Oh, okay, cool, good to know. Eleanor, I have several Da Vinci paints and I like them a lot. Yeah, they are, they do make some good paints. So the Nicosia Green Earth, sorry, I didn't really comment on this while I was painting. The Florentine Green, of course, is a chromium oxide. The Nicosia Green Earth was, it's low tinting, but it was surprisingly easy to re-wet. Green earths often are not easy to re-wet at all. And this raw umber dark neutral is also gorgeous. Look at this pretty thing. My goodness. Joy says that Sila raw sienna looks amazing. Yep, it's beautiful. The Sila one is like a very even tone. There's more separation, I think, in the stone ground one, where there's like a yellower area and a more reddish area. The Sila one is very even. They're both quite transparent and quite nicely tinting. I would love to see a video of making Prussian blue. That's really cool. Handmade green earths are the way to go. Yeah. Anyway, so this is actually a really neat little palette. I'm really glad they sent it to me. And I'm really glad. So the Sila paints I purchased, the stone ground paints were sent to me. But they're both very lovely. And I'm really happy with this. And I think that's about it for this stream. Thank you all for joining me. This was fun. So I will, I think, make this a weekly thing. Because I do have some other stuff that I can do on stream. I have some other palettes I can swatch. I got this one. Alright, bye-bye. Maybe it was Mission Gold, Prussian Blue. Okay, bye. Bye, everyone. I'm about to shut this off.